Hi, everybody, and welcome to season 3 of Little Wisdom, where we explore self development one baby step at a time. Thank you for being with us since day one. And if you've just joined us, well, we've just kickstarted season 3. And today we are speaking to the founder and CEO of DreamCatchers. It's an events, theater, and film production company, an entrepreneur, film producer, actor, model, writer, podcaster. I'm going to run out of fingers. Reiki healer and Akashic reader. Today's guest is out and out a people's person. She called herself an incorrigible optimist. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Shalima Motial. Hi,
Hey,
Shalima.
hi everyone. Hi, Shov. Thank you so much for having me over.
It's my pleasure, and I'm excited to start this conversation. And I'm not going to wait a moment longer. So let's jump right in, if that's good for you.
Totally ready, always.
Super. Okay, so Shalima, I'm going to jump right in and I'm going to start with this question because when I look at you and whatever I know of you, I see a woman who is very solid in her self-love. And today we live in a society, while this is changing, I think we still tend to shame or make women feel guilty for looking after themselves, for maybe, putting themselves first at times. I just wanted to know, what do you feel about this and whether you think this should or shouldn't change?
Oh, I absolutely love this question. Especially because I totally believe in self-love, putting yourself first, and to put it out there for everyone who's listening, self-love is not selfish. So, be it a man or a woman or a child, they need to know this in their head that self-love is not selfish. Because I've been a cabin crew as well. I trained for 3.5 years and flew with two different airlines. And in that also, they train us, to tell the passengers that when there's an emergency, they need to first put the oxygen mask on themselves and then their child. So to some people, it might sound like, oh my God, no, I will first put it on my child and then myself, right? But listen, if something happens to you, then how are you even going to help your child? So similarly, when your cup is full and brimming, that's when you can pour into somebody else's cup. How will you pour from an empty cup? So when you are complete and full in yourself, that's when you add back to society, to family, to friends, to the job you're doing or the work at hand. So taking care of yourself, putting your needs ahead of everyone else's is not selfish at all. Because once you are taken care of, you are happy and confident and brimming and spiritual, mental, physical, in every way, when you're whole and sound, that's when you're like a perfect human being who's able to add back value to your children,
Absolutely.
spouse, and the rest of the society. So
I
yes,
think
it's
that's
very important.
Yeah, I think that's so beautifully explained also because a lot of times when we have the need to put other people first, it's precisely because we love them, we want them to be looked after. But when you have self-love, you're actually doing them a favor because, like you said, then you are going to be around. So it's almost like it is also for them. Because if
Absolutely.
you're looking after yourself, you're not dependent on them or things like that, or you're there for your children. And I guess maybe it also sets a good, role model. Like you're an independent woman, you have a beautiful life, home, children, you have two lovely daughters, very talented, I must say, by the way. And I think by practicing the self-love, you're also setting an example for them. So maybe if I can just,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
maybe if I can go into that a little bit, like how do you feel as a mother? What do you want your daughters to be able to see when
Yeah,
they
so
see
when we're
you in
talking
yourself?
about setting example,
Yeah.
you cannot tell them what to do. You
Mm,
have to do it the way you are, the way you're behaving with your actions, right?
yeah.
So you cannot teach them something you are not or you're not doing yourself. So if you show them that, yeah, my needs are equally important, or I will come pick you up, but half an hour later because I'm doing this podcast interview, you know, so they know and they understand. And that's when, they learn that, yes, it is important. And then tomorrow, when it comes to deciding between, oh, should I put my needs ahead of this one's or that one's, it's clear in their head as well that it's important for me. What happens sometimes when, in the name of family, when we sacrifice and don't take care of ourselves or our needs and then put them ahead of us, and not willingly so, but because, oh, okay, we need to do it. out of guilt or whatever, you're not even doing it with a full heart. You're doing it half-heartedly. You're, piling on guilt to the whole thing, and it doesn't serve anyone. So,
Yes.
and as women, we need to learn to say no. So that's
Yep,
another thing,
absolutely.
I feel that there are two very important emotions, very strong emotions, which every human being operates out of. It's
Hmm.
either fear or love. So
I
if you're
believe the
doing it
same.
out of love, then it's all fine and great. When there's
Yes.
no guilt and you're like, it's all right, I can go shopping tomorrow and let me do this today. You're doing it out of love, then that's great. But if you're doing it out of a fear of what the society will say, or my friends will judge me for this or that, when that fear aspect comes and then, you're putting yourself behind, it doesn't solve the purpose, it doesn't serve the purpose, it doesn't help anyone because you're doing it
Yes.
half-heartedly anyways and from an emotion of fear. That
Yes.
doesn't help. I never operate out of fear.
Yeah. And you
Another
become
example,
bitter.
if I may
Yes, go
say
on.
that again.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say, and you
So,
become very bitter about things. You're like, you do
yeah,
it,
you
but you're
carry guilt.
frustrated. Yeah.
And then, some point in time, you will say it out loud to the other person.
Yes.
Oh, I did this for you.
Exactly.
If you're in that sacrificial mode, you will say it out, and that person's like, you could have done it tomorrow. You didn't
Yes.
even ask me, if that was an option.
Mm.
So, if you do it out of love, then everybody's happy. Then
Yes.
nobody's complaining. So that happens. Like, for instance, I post a lot on social media, and there are so many people who don't. And so sometimes I feel like maybe, there'll be some chatter around. "Oh, she posts so much. Maybe this holiday I'll not post." And then I said, Shalima, since when did you start operating out of fear? I always operate out of love. And people who like watching my content can watch. People who don't want to watch, they have an option of not doing so. So I should always operate from the frequency that I'm comfortable in. And
Yes.
that's love, right?
Absolutely. No,
So,
absolutely. I completely agree. And I think there's two things that I've learned. I mean, I don't want to say the hard way, but in not the easiest of ways. One is you will never make everybody happy. That's one. There will always be somebody who has something to say. And then the second is that, what was the second thing? It was so good. You will never make everybody happy. And, oh, yes. And you will never be everything to everyone, or we should stop trying to
absolutely.
be everything to everyone, to friends, to this. I mean, I guess that's where boundaries come in, but you
Right.
really cannot do both of those. And I think the sooner we accept that, not to say we don't fall back into that zone. I know, like, I'm like, oh
Right.
yeah, it's okay, I will draw the line here, but every now and then we will falter because it's conditioning. But speaking of conditioning and forming habits and things like that, what would you advise or say, like in your, like you spoke about learning to say no. What about people out there who are struggling to self-love? Like what is self-love, do you think, to begin with?
So I feel that self-love is when you take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, right? When all these five aspects you feel complete, whole, comfortable, confident, that is self-love. I mean,
Hmm.
there's no rocket science to it. And especially I've noticed in homemakers because they carry that thing of, oh, I am a homemaker, I'm not doing much. So they put everybody else's needs ahead of theirs. Why? You're doing the most important job. Why would you do that, right? So when you start saying that I'm comfortable mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, and now I will do whatever I have to or need to for the family, for friends, for society, out of a space of love, that's self love. It's as
Right.
simple as that.
Right. And what do you think are things that people can start doing? So let's say there's, somebody watching this right now and they're like, okay, like I'm in, I love the whole self-love thing. It's a great theory. Everybody talks about it. What can I do? Where do I start?
So maybe just write down a couple of points against all of these. So what do I need to do for my physical health? Right?
Mm,
Maybe some people say, oh, I don't get enough time to go for a walk. I want to, but I don't. Take out time. Give yourself that importance, right? And similarly for all other aspects. Mentally, if you love listening to podcasts, especially Shub's podcast, you should listen to it. Take out time and do that. Yes, physically walk, mentally take out time to listen or watch, read, do whatever it is that you want. spiritually take out time to meditate, connect with the Almighty in whatever way and fashion you want to connect. And similarly, emotionally, if you're feeling that, oh, my friends take me for granted, my kids take me for granted, my husband takes me for granted, spell it out for them. Because, so many times women feel like, oh, let me give the silent treatment. They'll understand. They need to
Oh, no.
understand. Nobody's a mind reader here, right? So go spell it out. And I have learned this the hard way too, that, just giving the silent treatment to a friend will not automatically let her know what really happened. Go speak about it, trash it out.
Yes.
It works out great. It doesn't. There are so many other fish in the pond, right? So
Yes.
similarly, just put down 2, 3 points against all of these things, and you will know what self-love is for you. It's very different for each and every person.
No,
So
absolutely. And
nobody's
I
coming
think
to save you. Yeah,
nobody's,
you have
yes.
to, yeah, nobody is coming to save you, no matter
Yes.
how close they are to you, your spouse, your parents, your children. Everybody is here to lead their own life. Of course, we
Yes.
support each other, we are there for each other. But at the end of the day, you have to do your own karma and then leave the world, right? So leave it a better place with your presence. Don't be a
Yeah.
martyr.
Yeah, no, it's true. Bollywood was wrong. Nobody's coming to save you, especially if you're a woman. You really have to save yourself at the end of the day. And, something I discovered recently, like I'd heard people talk about it, but I think, with life, you discover new things. And it was that the pressure on somebody else, for them to be responsible for your happiness, they will always disappoint you. I think I learned this from some interviews of Katrina Kaif, actually, and she was talking
Okay.
about it. And she said something like, to put that pressure on someone else, ki, "Oh, tumhari wajah se aise nahi hua," yeah, because of you, I wanted this. And I'm saying this because it reminds me of that passive aggressive treatment or the silent treatment we give people. But to consistently and constantly put that pressure that other people are responsible for your happiness, not to say they won't disappoint you. Everybody will disappoint you. And then, Bob Marley says you have to see who is worth the disappointment. The ones who are
Absolutely,
not,
yeah.
well, tata bye, but if they are, then, you work it out. But again, I think the only way we can be happy is to, be happy with ourselves.
With
And
ourselves, totally.
yeah, and just going into that a little bit more, I think, of course, career and profession is a big part of learning to be happy and self-accomplished. You've obviously done a fantastic job. I've participated in some of the events that you've, done, especially for women. I've seen firsthand homemakers, for example, how they feel when they come into, let's say, the runway moms, that happened. And I was strongly encouraged by my mom to join. But by the end of it, I remember the day when we walked the ramp and I saw those women and I saw those ladies. Shalima, it was such a beautiful thing to see because I saw them see themselves differently. And the way that they carried themselves, the way they walked. I mean, fine, it's not, a runway stage in New York or Paris or something as yet. But, they felt like number one. And you could see that they were embracing their whole femininity, their womanhood, but you could see how much they really felt happy about themselves and that it's so important to a woman after they give. So could you speak a little more about, your love for entertainment and arts and how you got started and this whole journey as a female entrepreneur?
So my love for entertainment and art started very early on in life. So maybe I was about 4 or 5 years old. My dad's from the Indian Air Force,
Mm.
and we would perform a lot in the, because we were always posted in smaller camps, Air Force camps, and there used to be variety programs. So all kids got a chance to participate. So I was always there, either dancing or acting or doing whatever it was that was required. And throughout in school as well. I was always on stage on annual days or any other extracurricular activities. So my first option in life as a career was to become an actor.
Now I
And
know.
then, of
Now
course,
I know. Sorry to interrupt you there. Now I know why mom and you get along so well.
really, oh
She
wow.
loved the
She wanted
stage.
to be an
Like
actor too?
she loved, you just put her on still today, the camera,
Right.
stage. She's happy. So I think this is why she loves you so much as well. Yeah.
Yes,
So
it's
please
mutual.
continue.
Both of us love each other so much. So yeah, so it started from there. And then, gradually one goes on about things. Of course, I kept performing till grade 12. And then in college, there wasn't much option. Whatever there was, I took part. And then I remember giving it a serious thought, that, okay, let me become an actor. And I was in Delhi that time. There weren't too many options. So I tried, I did local productions, I became a newsreader. I did the Serenade Dial-In show as a host, VJs and RJs and all were there. I did one or two shows for Doordarshan as well.
Nice.
And that was that. It didn't take me anywhere after that. And then I thought, there's no point because my dad drove me a couple of times to these auditions. They wouldn't even start until 11 p.m. And then I felt it was unfair to drag him around for my dreams, right? So I just said, okay, let me just focus on whatever I've done in life. And much later, when I moved to Singapore, I attended a theater performance by a friend who's much older than me. And then suddenly that, spark came back in me. And I said, oh, there's no age for this. If she can do it, so can I.
Nice,
Right.
yes.
So then, after that, I started doing a lot of workshops and gave auditions and then started doing all these theater performances. So now, after starting it 5 or 6 years back, I have about 35 theater productions under my belt as an actor, some of them as producer as well, and about 14 short films and a full-length feature film called Dominoes, so which is a 2-hour long film, the biggest project to date of DreamCatchers. And this I realized after launching DreamCatchers, couple of years after launching it, because when I launched DreamCatchers, my focus was to catch other people's dreams and provide a platform to performing artists, then women empowerment. So Runway happened. And then I said, I'm a dream catcher. I should catch my own dreams as well.
Yes.
So
Self-love
that's when I started
in.
taking all these workshops and it could run parallelly is what I realized, that I could be a person catching my dreams while simultaneously doing other projects and catching other people's dreams as well. And I guess when your heart is in the right place, everything works out beautifully.
Yes. And I strongly believe, people always say like, you need to ask the universe for what you want. And I think it's also important that the universe has to want it for you. I think in your case, that clearly aligned, it clearly aligned very well. And I think
that's beautifully put, actually. Usually people say that ask the universe, but the way you've said it, that the universe needs to want it for you as well. So my prayer always is, oh, I want this only if you think it's good for me.
Yes.
Right from childhood, I've never asked for anything blindly. I've like, oh, I want this desperately, but only if you, Almighty, thinks it's right for me, then give it to me. And it's worked beautifully. Yeah.
No, it definitely has. And I want to ask you, what do you think is the biggest misconception about what you do, or like, being a female entrepreneur, or even just the work that you do? You touched on it a little bit earlier. One aspect of it where people might be like, oh, is she posting too much? Why is she always posting? Like I said, people always have something to say, right? They're never satisfied. But what do you feel is another misconception, if you have a chance to address it now, or things you might have heard about this?
So the biggest misconception about the arts industry or the events industry or being an actor is that, oh, it's easy, right? So people just see, oh, it's fun. Oh, they're walking the ramp. Oh, this is happening. They're partying. There's this, speaking session going on, or they're doing yoga, Zumba. What they don't realize is that's just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
What goes on to create those moments for everyone is solid hard work, planning, really blood, sweat, and tears for 4-5 months, planning everything to the T so that, not a single ball is left up in the air. And people don't see that. People only see the fun side of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And that sometimes hurts also because, what's the biggie in your job? Especially the ones working in MNCs and probably have like a chip on their shoulder that, your job is not as important. And sometimes I think, I'm like, no, dude, the platform I've provided for these innumerable women. And as you said, you so beautifully put it, and I need to write that down somewhere, the way you said it, that these women saw themselves in a different light, which is so beautiful, right? So to provide that, in fact, the season you were a part of, I remember there was this one lady and she was standing there wearing similar dress as her daughter. And she said, look at my height, look at my size. I've never gotten this opportunity even in school and college. So thank you, Dreamcatchers, for catching my dreams. Now, I feel that is way more valuable as a work, as a profession, than, I mean, there are so many other valuable places you can be in. But you know, when people have that chip on their shoulder that what we are doing is more important than what you're doing, I'm like, no, dude. I think I'm adding equal or more value to people's lives by providing this platform to them. I remember your mom. She started her singing thing on our platform 40 years after she quit singing, literally, right?
Yes.
So giving her that platform 40 years later in her life, that's a huge achievement for me.
But, you know, I
Right.
agree with you because for anybody who has not been in anything artistic, so I haven't done a ton of work, but, you know, there's a lot of people who will sit and say, Are ye to bada aasan hai. You know, like it's easy to stand in front of the camera. Isko acting nahi aati. Isko, you know, very easy to sit on your
Right.
sofa comfortably while eating Haldiram's something and criticizing with some masala chai in your hand. You know what I mean? But I have
Right.
seen, and I mean, I say this from experience, like even for myself, the first time being in front of the camera, the moment you're standing there in the room and the light goes on and they say roll or
Oh, yeah.
whatever, oh man, you will forget, you know, whether you have knees and legs. So it's very
Absolutely.
easy. And I think the other
Yeah.
thing, I mean, just to add on to your point, is I have a ton of respect for entrepreneurs. I remember there was a point when I was working for myself, I was trying to freelance and all of that. And that's when I realized you really need to be a different breed in order to be a sustaining entrepreneur. Because a lot of people who I want to address right now, the MNCs who talk about, Arey, ye to koi kaam nahi hai, ye maybe hobby kar di, whatever it is, who belittle
Right.
the power that you give people to reignite their dreams and to feel good about themselves and kind of inspire and fulfill their, you know, their this kind of longing in their soul. It's not
You
easy
know,
to
because
do.
once they join the corporate world, they feel like, where is the platform for us? Where do we
Yes.
get to perform? And that's how Dreamcatcher started, right? Because I
Yes.
realized that there isn't a platform for adults who are into singing, acting, dancing. What do they do? So in school and college, you know, students still get that opportunity. And
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
Dreamcatchers was born, to provide
Yeah.
that platform.
And I think honestly, I mean, and by no means am I like dissing people who work for big companies. You know, I do for my, you know, as myself as well. But at the
Right. My
same
husband
time, I
works for the
think
company. Yeah,
exactly,
he
you know,
works for an MNC, so I am not
yeah,
dissing them either. But I'm just saying
exactly.
that as much as we respect your work, there should be reciprocation as well, right? So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's very easy to hide behind a big established name versus trying to carve a name and a brand yourself. You know, so I think exactly what you said. It should be mutual respect. There shouldn't be this is better or that is worse. None of that, you know, ridiculousness. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there in case anybody was thinking about it. All right, I want to move along a little bit, and you know, we're going to dive into maybe if you could share what's been your most challenging, or maybe a lowest point amid this journey, or maybe in life, and how did you rise above it?
okay, so these are two separate things because lowest point in my work journey has been, you know, just a couple of years after launching Dreamcatchers. I put in a lot of investment in terms of hiring a marketing company to do marketing for me. So to, you know, encourage people to participate, I kept giving away cash prizes, cash prizes. Imagine sending $500, $700 to Russia, America, Maldives, not Maldives, Malaysia, you know, all of those places, because people were participating.
Yes.
And they would send their videos, and we had a panel of judges. And you know, so most wanted entertainer, music star awards, we ran series of these, season 1, 2, 3, kept giving away cash prizes in the hope to increase the community, the number of artists on our platform. And they would just come participate, the winners would take the cash, vanish. You know, they're not helping us promote the platform further. So I got tired of doing that. I mean, you become an entrepreneur, you start a business out of two things. One is passion, for sure, that's important. The second is also to earn some money, right?
Of
And that
course.
wasn't happening. So I was almost going to give up. And I'm a spiritual person, so I believe in signs from the Almighty. It could come in the form of some message on Facebook or a friend sending you some forward or something. And in the mail that day, there was a letter that came from Singapore Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, SICI, inviting me, as the most promising entrepreneur. And I'm like, okay, you don't want me to give up yet. All right. So that's a sign. And then more opportunities came my way. And then I started collaborating a lot with, companies like Teamwork Productions, D Ideas. They would get these big artists from Bollywood, and we would run a nationwide talent hunt for them. So for singers like Harshdeep Kaur, Javed Ali, Farhan Akhtar, I started with Salim Suleiman. And so then from the lowest point came the opportunities. And then as an entrepreneur, I think you need that perseverance to keep going on and on and on, despite chatter from here. Are kya kar rahe ho? Are you earning yet? What are you doing? We don't understand what you're doing. And then consistent hard work. So that's another thing which, I felt that if you put in your heart and soul into something, it has to work. And when your intentions are right, your heart is in the right place, everything works. So
Intention,
that was the
yes.
thing that I got into and came out of with God's grace.
Yeah.
Personally, my low point was when I lost my mom. So
Yeah.
that took me a while to come out of. But again, with counseling and help of the family and friends, came out of that too. I mean, we came out, you can never come out, but yeah, acceptance took over, the grief and the anger and the betrayal from God that one feels at that time.
Of course.
But then, so, once you have that acceptance and then the faith returns gradually, and then life has to go on, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's never easy dealing with any kind of grief, but I think you've done that very gracefully and openly. But also, I'm sure she's super proud of you because of all the talents. I'm sure some of them you've inherited from her. So I'm sure she looks down and goes, "That's my girl." Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that's been quite a journey, I think, professionally and on a personal front. I think I'll go with one last question. I won't let you go this easily. But if there is one piece of wisdom that you could leave the audience with today, what would it be?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So, what I would say to people who are now trying to be entrepreneurs or trying to launch something is that it's great you have an idea. Don't wait for the perfect circumstances, the perfect resources, the perfect time, because that will never come. So you just start. And the second thing I would say is don't be too married to your idea. You launch something and then you feel that, oh, market is not accepting the way I thought it would, because that's how I did it. Right? I had this idea of online talent showcase company and I launched. And then I realized a couple of years down the line that people are not ready for it yet, or they are not understanding what I'm trying to, showcase here. And then I changed. So when you go with the flow, be like a river, be like water. Go with the flow. You put in a glass, you take that form. You put in an ice tray, you take that form. Go with the river, you take that form. So when you launch something, you try it out for a bit. And if you think, oh, market's not ready, or people are not accepting it or understanding it, change it a little, tweak it a little. Don't just keep investing money into it thinking, oh, I'm going to just make this work. Because as an entrepreneur, you just need to figure out what the gap is in the market as well. What people are looking for. So most of my events are based on that. That's how Runway was launched. Because I had heard about a lot of pageants and stuff. And it didn't sit right with me to have women walk the ramp and then you judge them. And there's so much backbiting and negativity around it. That's when I launched Runway Mom. It's a non-competitive platform. That's the USP of it, right? Then there was so much positivity. There was so much love. Everybody so encouraging of each other. Everybody wants everybody to succeed. So find a gap in the market. Find something niche to do. Don't follow what everybody else is doing. And then also, be easygoing so that if you feel that, oh, this isn't working, but I could tweak it and try that, do that. You're the boss, dude. You get to decide.
Yeah, and use your own talents and your own skills to form your own path and not somebody else's. Shalima, that was wonderful. I think this has been a great conversation. I'm just going to wrap up with a couple of points that we've learned from you today. Self-love is not selfish, and you cannot teach when you spoke about the kids, you cannot teach them something that you are not, that I think for all the parents out there or any caregiver, people out there who are in a position to influence children, thank you for reminding us that it's how you act rather than what you say. At the end of the day, they always say, look for what people do rather than what they say. And that is what the children or anybody will notice and follow. But yeah, things like learning to self-love, write down what's going to inspire you or bring self-love in you mentally, spiritually, physically, and do those things. Making time for those things, for teaching us that there is no age to realize your dream, that just because you had a dream at 7 doesn't mean you can't have it at 77. And there's ways around it, or there's ways to get as close to that dream as possible. My mother is a perfect example. I think she would have made really a fantastic playback singer if she had the opportunity. But even now, in her 60s, she's able to sing, and she started with you. So thank you for that. And what you've said to entrepreneurs, do not wait for the perfect situation or the perfect timing, because there's no such thing. That's been a very wholesome conversation about discovering love for self-love amid entrepreneurship. Shalima, if people want to find you or they want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
So yes, please follow and like DreamCatchers page on Facebook. Maybe you want to type in DreamCatchers Singapore, because otherwise you will find all kinds of DreamCatchers. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube. We are soon going to be launching our next show. So do that. Please follow us on YouTube. It's again DreamCatchers. The full name is DreamCatchers Vision. So DreamCatchers Vision Private Limited is the full name of the company. So look us up, Google my name, you'll find something interesting. Shalima Motial. Do that.
I'm sure they will. And I think what we will do is we'll link all of these links to your social media and to DreamCatchers Vision social media into the description below as well. Shalima, thank you for joining us in this conversation. And I want to thank all the listeners and the viewers who have been watching this as well. I encourage you to share this with somebody who needs it. If you want to inspire somebody, a portion or all of this conversation, remember to subscribe. Until next time, everybody, stay wise. See you.
Watch, listen. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me over. It was a great conversation with you as well. Like, your points were amazing.
Thank you, Shalima. I loved it. And more to come.
Absolutely.
All right. See you, everybody. Thank you for joining in.